as you were growing, you must have had times where you felt, man, I'm not adequate. I'm ill-equipped. I'm supposed to be at this level and I don't know how to get there and I don't know if I'll get there. But then you're like, I got to do it. Like,
Yeah.
were there parts where you're thinking, you know, I'm just not sufficient enough to do what RKG needs me to do?
Oh yeah. Very, very, very many thoughts like that. And, you know, I guess one of my favorite quotes on there is I had to learn how self-talk so powerful, you know, because the truth is you're adequate or you're inadequate. It's whichever one you choose.
Yeah.
And pushing into personal development helped me understand that, being able to tap into what I call my interpersonal power and understanding that I'm adequate if I choose to be. And what that means is I'm willing to learn what I don't know. And, you know, that's really what it boils down to. There's plenty of things that I don't know, but I'm never gonna shy away from learning those things. And I started realizing that is what made me adequate, was the fact that I'm not afraid to get messy. I'm not afraid to jump in. I'm not afraid to learn new things. I'm never going to be done learning. I'm never going to be done growing. Therefore, I'm never going to be adequate today to the next level at which I'm getting at, right? There's going to have to be growth to get there. So am I adequate today for where I'm going to be in 6 months? No, I'm going to have to grow to get there. And now I embrace that as part of the journey. You know, we're not ever adequate this week to get to where we're going next year, but we can just push into that. So I started asking myself, instead of getting stuck in that space of, who am I to own a company like this? Who am I to be successful in this space? Who am I to break generational curses and teach my kids a new way? Who the hell would I be to even do that? And I can pick apart, Andy, I was a teenage single mom. You know, I don't have a college education. Like, there could just be so many things that I could sit here and tell myself I'm not adequate. But instead of asking myself now, who am I to do any of those things? I just flip it back around to the simple truth of, honestly, who are you not to?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody's going to grow a roofing company. Here you are, you're in the seat. Learn what you need to know, do what you need to do, and go crush it. You have to just choose that, I think.
Yeah, exactly. You're deciding whether to start a company or not.
Yeah.
What were you thinking? Was it money? Was it freedom? Was it, I'm up for a challenge? Was it just an opportunity?
Andy, I was not up for the challenge. I did not know that it was going to be this hard. And if you could have told me 6 years ago that I would have a day like I even had today, I probably wouldn't have even believed you. I did not know how hot the fire was going to be in. But once you're already on fire, what are you going to do? Survive. Like, that's just all you can do, right? So initially it was freedom. It was bringing my husband off the road. It was having my family. You know, I'm a blended family. When I got married, Robbie had a daughter and I had 2 sons. Robbie and I both come from blended families. Both of us were single parents, obviously, before we met. There was a natural want for a family unit that was together and stable, that lived in both of our spirits, that we could not get away from. It was just one of those very strict, we will live on ramen noodles, whatever it is. We will live out of beans in a can if we have to. We are not going to continue to have 8 months of the year where our because we had a family. It was like we blended so beautifully, where my sons had a sister and she had brothers, and it was hurtful to everybody to have that level of separation that often. And that's what it was about. It wasn't about, I did not know that we were going to scale this company then. It's one of those things where your company starts growing and you realize with your personal development that we either grow, we either get better, or we get worse every day, but it's impossible to just maintain, right? I mean, the universe is a forever moving thing. We can't just sit here where we are right now. You have a choice. You either have to go forwards or you have to go backwards, but like, the pendulum is swinging every day. Like, we can't just hold right here. And that's why we scaled it, is because we came to the realization of, we are going to grow this thing, because otherwise it falls apart. It just seems to really only be the way to go. And it later became about other people's families. And once we accomplished what we wanted to accomplish internally in our own unit, it became about giving that freedom and teaching other people why we love roofing and restoration so much today. But I didn't know. I just did not know 5 years ago. I didn't have this plan yet, to be honest with you. I didn't know enough to even be scared. All I knew is that I wanted the family that I finally had, and I didn't really care what that took to create. And I still don't, it's still difficult, but now I get to give that to other people, like people that join my team now. They leave the oil field, they leave long-term careers, they find that freedom in roofing sales where they're able to still pay their bills and have time freedom. And, now it's really about helping that live on and showing people what we've learned in the space.
Yeah, that's a question. This one might put you a little bit in a little bit of tension. I don't know, but
Yeah.
What things did you suck at when you were starting your business?
Definitely tracking things, which you might see me talk a lot about now in my business content that I put out on Facebook and stuff. I'm big on tracking everything. And that comes from a pain point from me, from numbers to leads to, everything. But now in my office, every single thing gets tracked. I was also terrible with books, which is kind of also tracking, really being able to be able to use numbers to tell me a story to make database decisions with. I couldn't do that. I had to really force myself into that space, which is what my coach Nick actually helped me with. And him and I worked together for over a year, building out RKG's internal tracking systems and deciding every time I would come to him and say, hey, I don't know what's going on here. He's like, well, let's build a tracking sheet. Let's track it. And it was just amazing to me, the story and the patterns that I was able to start seeing once I stopped being afraid of numbers or having that mindset where I'm like, I just don't like, because a lot of times as business owners, what we don't like to do is what we don't do. So that's what goes undone. And for us, that was tracking. Now I'm able to track every lead that comes in. I'm able to see how many of them close. I'm able to see where they come from, where my marketing budget is best spent. I'm able to look at, cash flow in a whole new way and be able to manage that and keep my company cash flow happy, like not get into major cash flow crunches, because I can build out patterns of expectations on, how the money's flowing in and out of the company. I used to not be able to see it like that. So I would definitely say when it comes to just tracking, keeping books, the financial side, the number side of it all, I'm a people person. I don't really like having to dig. I used to say that. I'm a people person. I don't like the numbers. Now I really like the numbers because I understand that the numbers protect the people and that it's a key element of the business.
You're always like the hub. Everything's got to pass through you, and eventually you got to decide, okay, this task isn't worth me investing my time in that particular thing anymore, whether it's ordering materials or, doing a safety inspection or picking up returns or whatever. Like eventually you got to be like, okay, that doesn't fit my role anymore. I got to delegate that out. So with your time being stretched all the time, what things do you use to decide that you got to let go, or Kimba still has to continue to do that thing?
Yeah, that's definitely been a stair stepper over the growth, especially over the last 2 years. We've really rebuilt our infrastructure. I've brought in a general manager. I have a sales manager. I have a full-time sales trainer. I have a receptionist up front. I have a production manager in the office, production manager in the field, a renovations project manager. So now there is a head for every hat. And that's really the thing as the owner is once you start getting to that point where you're juggling so much, like you can't be the single point of failure. Well, if I don't do it, it doesn't get done, just doesn't work at a certain level anymore. There's too much going on. So I started I started off by just writing down everything that needed to get done and then delegating those out into different positions, creating positions in the company that said, I have a list. I'm big on lists. I have a list of every single thing that needs to get done at this company, break that down into departments, down into jobs. And then I went through and dissected what personalities would best fit this role. Who you have running, or the person that answers the phone, the receptionist that welcomes people when they walk into your office is probably not the same dude that's ordering your materials. Like their personalities are probably not the same people. So breaking down the jobs that need to get done so you're not the single point of failure, identifying what those different job roles are going to look like, assessing what your employee avatar looks like, that would be the ideal person to fulfill those things, hiring, making sure you have a good job flow work process that you can use to train off of and make sure that you teach them everything that they need to do. I just started kind of breaking it down one thing at a time. And as we got busier, my production manager, used to also do some of our accounts receivables. Like he's sitting at the computer at the office all day. Well, we got busy to the point where that just became 2 jobs. So now I have somebody that does payroll, that's a different person that orders the materials, and just started kind of breaking it up into what makes sense. But now I'm definitely very thankful to have a team in place where even if I'm out of town, or you can always call up to the office at RKG and there's going to be somebody here that can help you out. So that's.
So you said you hired a general manager.
I did, yeah, in January.
That was probably a big step for you, right?
It was huge.
So
I decided at the Smash event last December, I'm getting a general manager, and I hired her in January. She officially started in March.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I struggled with this a bit too, because you're like, do you hire the person and then, okay, now I'm going to define all the things that they're going to do, because I've never had a general manager before. Or do you define all the things that a general manager does and then you hire the person for that role? And I know the right answer is, but it's so easy to fall in the trap, like, well, I've never had a general manager before, so I'm not really sure what all the duties go in that line. So I'll just hire somebody and I'll start throwing tasks at them.
Yeah.
And then,
well, and unfortunately we set people up for failure when we do that. And when we set other people up for failure as an entrepreneur, we set ourselves up for disappointment, because that very quickly turns into resentment being built up on both ways. Because this person's like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. You just yell things at me, and I can't even create a system, and they feel resentment towards you, and you're turning around going, why'd you do it like that? Yeah. And so I really think having those systems and processes. Now, I'm also big, my general manager and I have grown a lot together. We've noticed new processes that the company needs, and we've developed and cultivated those out together. But I definitely had a full-blown job duties, job role. I gave her a starting point when she got here, and to say, these are all the things that goes on at RKG, and these are the specific KPIs that I need from you. And giving her when I come to you, I'm going to have a few things. How much money's going out? How much money's coming in? How many sales got done this week? How many build outs were done this week? Where are we at in supplements? Like, these are going to be the key things that I'm going to want to know from you. And these are the people that you can go to get those things. And it took her, about 90 days to really get acclimated into our culture, really feel comfortable and confident in her role here. But now she crushes it. I mean, she totally crushes it. And she holds lines that I wouldn't otherwise hold. So in a general manager position as owners, I think it's also very important that we pick somebody that has strengths that are our weaknesses, and that we have strengths that might be their weaknesses. Kelly and I can balance each other very well, because Kelly is a lot more disciplined than I am. I want to be everybody's friend. I always want to, I want to be able to go around the process and keep everybody happy. But we can't do that for every single person every week. So Kelly really helps me establish boundaries and hold to processes that I otherwise found myself really, and and not that any owner wants to play favorites, but it looks like that sometimes. Like, if this is the process, this is the process. If we let this person and this person and this person get away with it, and then 6 months later something else happened, and it starts to create toxicity in your culture when you have systems and processes that you don't hold people accountable to. Right. And so I specifically looked for that in a general manager role, somebody that I knew that people would respect and like, but that I knew would not fall into that trap of becoming everyone's friend, and remembering that she's here to be my eyes and ears, and she's here to have RKG's best interest at heart, not this individual or that individual or this individual that we end up becoming friends with because we all spend so much time together. Now, I'm bad about spending so much time together that I want to be your best friend, and now I want to break the rules or whatever the case is. So Kelly, that's something that I looked for. I knew that that was a weakness that I had, and I appreciate being able to find somebody that had that personality trait. It was one of those things where I knew that she was the person for the job for that sole reason alone.
How'd you hire? Did you go through Indeed or some kind of recruiting platform?
So I knew her because she was in property management, managing subcontractors for HOAs for 30 years. So RKG was actually a vendor of hers. I always liked us working with Kelly. We had a good business relationship for 3.5 years, 4 years. I guess before she came over to RKG, she gave me my first commercial, first apartment. I got through Kelly. Our first metal roof, we got through Kelly. And, you know, we've just always been able to work really, really, really well together. And so I went to her and I offered her a job and I recruited her out from underneath the property management company that she was working with. And she loved my company so much that, you know, she took the position.
I'm so happy to hear you have that response, because you don't see that much on any of the forums or social media. People are like, can't find good people, and how do you recruit people? Everybody's like, oh, use Indeed, use Job Recruiter. You got all these apps, you got all these things out there, but or you can put an ad in the newspaper, put a sign out in front of your building, we're hiring, which, you know, there's a lot of different tactics. But
Yeah.
for the real killers, for the real good players, I've seen more and more people, and we've had success with this too, is you see somebody that's already killing it, they're doing great, but maybe they're not satisfied with their job, or they're underserved, underappreciated, and recruit them.